Morning and welcome back to the Home Renovation Experts. Steve here again. So the garden room is looking like this. It's really nice, isn't it? Really nice, very happy. So today is, that's right, roof joist day. So you can see I've got one, I've placed it in position. So, a few things about this. When you're doing this, it's heavy lifting, but it's good fun. The plan is going to be, first things first, the steel is going to be here Wednesday. So what I'm going to do is, I do this literally all the time, is create a fake joist, or a temporary joist if you will. So these is like 4x3s which I've ordered, which is stay up there. That is taller than the 160mm, so 160mm steel is about there, so it's about 30mm extra. This roof will be pivoted onto that. Once I've kind of got the joist up and on, and the OSB on and that kind of stuff, I will then put some jacks underneath here, which will support it. I will then raise it up very slightly, because they're adjustable, they're very handy. Whip these bad boys out, get the steel into the space, get it pivoted into the corner, lift up, a couple of us, put it over there, drop it in, and then just lower the roof down. So essentially today, it's going to be fixed and secured at the back. So the whole thing's going to be like a bonnet of a car. It's going to be like, up like that. Then when it comes to putting the steel in, it's going to raise it up a little bit, take the wood supports out, put the steel in, and then just lower the whole thing, bang, onto the steel and fix it at the front. I've done this loads of times, it's good fun. It's one of those things you wait for stuff to turn up, but I don't let it stop me, just crack on. We're British after all. But this one's actually, it's really handy because actually the length of the wood that is here is spot on to give us what the client would like at the back. So, when you're working out the overhang, so there's a stumpy overhang, so on this one, the overhang is literally going to be like the width of the wood, okay? So there you go, well that's a bit bigger than the width of the wood, right? Because the width of the wood is 45, and that is definitely bigger. But what you need to do is take into account you've got 2 lots of batten at 25mm a pop, bringing it out, ready to carry the Western Red Cedar, plus then you've got the Western Red Cedar, so 70mm to take into account there. So basically, this is actually 12 centimetres, 120mm. So by the time you take it for 70, that leaves you a little overhang about 45, which is this bit of wood, which is beautiful. And also that has to take into account the fact that this will have another piece of wood on it across here, which is going to run in obviously that direction. So it's all just about the mass and working it out. So that'll be the same for the overhang going on the underside here, a tiny little one, which is perfect. So the plan is, first one up, what I've done is obviously got it in position, so there's 12 120mm overhang there. I know that'll be the same for all of them. All these pieces of wood are the same length because that's how they're ordered. And then the overhang is going to just be over 600mm at the front, like a little porchy bit, which would be quite nice if you're out here like letting yourself in and it's pissing it down. You've got a little bit of protection. I know you've got to get from the house to here, but still once you're here, you're golden, absolutely golden. What you want to do as well, when you put your piece of wood up like this, what you'll notice in any big lengths of timber is that you have, I can't remember which one, a convex and a concave, whichever. Basically, you'll have a curve that goes in that direction, and you'll have a curve that goes in that direction on the other side of it, okay? When you put them up, what you ideally want is it to be bowing in that direction at the top, okay? Not the convex, concave one, you know what I mean? Because what it does, it's minor stuff, okay? But it creates a little dip in the roof, which can then allow water to pool, right? So if you just happen to give it a good look over, figure out which side is the proud side, the bit that goes up, stick that on the top edge, then water will naturally fall off of it. And that's simple stuff. It's just these little bits and pieces, isn't it? It really is. On the top, I'm going to have 7 of these. I've already cut my noggin creator space 400mm. That does not mean, it's upside down, Steve. That does not mean this piece of wood is 400mm. This piece of wood is 35.5 centimetres or 355mm, which then means once that's kind of put on there like that, and I get the next one lined up and touch it onto the edge of that, that will then give me exactly 400 centre to the 400 centre of the next one. Okay, again, a bit like I did with the floor, a bit like I did with the walls. It means that every space is identical, which then means cutting your PR insulation is a lot easier because they're not all slightly different sizes and you're pissing and farting around. Because I don't like pissing and farting around where I can help it. So that is it. So I'm going to get this one up, like I have. I'll secure it with 3 90mm pins going in angle like that. 3 90mm going that way. The reason, I'll put swinging this way, that I kind of go in at that angle is because it locks it in. If I went straight through, it won't pin it as well. You can just leverage it straight out. So by going out a 45 angle, 45 angle, 45 angle, and the other side a 45 angle, 45, 45 angle, you are literally locking that piece of wood into that space. And there's something else that I do as well, which is obviously I do put joist hangers on them. Another thing I also do as well, again, just bolts and braces, I put these lovely, I use them for the corners if you watch the first one, these bad boys. So these are like 250mm, so I literally put that straight through the top, all the way through, boom, straight into that timber. So with joist hangers nailed in, and this, I'm confident whenever we get a storm, I'm not lying in bed going, oh, I hope that roof stays on. So I know it's bolts and bracing, it's OTT, but it doesn't take long to do, right? And it just means it's happy days, it's never going to come away. So now these walls are strong at the minute. He says it wobbles, the only reason it does that because it's only got that one supporting bit, but once these are actually locked on, that is the whole building completely rigidified then, because literally they're strong enough as it is because the joists going in and the sort of OSB on the outside, but putting that on is going to lock it in place beautifully. So enough chit chat, time to rock on. I'll be back in a minute. Oh, quickly before I start, the other thing is that you want to make sure that this line on this side of it is in line with the centre of here, okay? So that way you know that once the plasterboard's up and all that kind of jazz, you still have a nice little bit to carry the plasterboard through this roofing on. The way I do that is grab a level, put it on there, up to the edge, and you can see that way it's straight off there, straight up to there, straight in line. Beautiful, Bernard. I know, it's very clever. So that is that part done. Now we can get on. Right, so I'm going to show you, well, hopefully show you, it might be a bit cack-handy with the filming, but bear with me how I'm kind of doing this. So there you go. You can see the other hang is the same on these ones, which is beautiful. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to climb from a little hole. Well, before I even do that, there's my 4.5 piece. So literally, these two are now secured. Now the reason I did that was actually going back a slight step. What I suddenly realised is that I double checked, I wanted to measure, because obviously when you're inside, my plasterboard will be up against this edge, right? Yep. What I forgot to take into account is that measuring 1.2 from there, because my plasterboard is going to go bang up against this wall, then it's going to be 1.2 metres in length, which lands me there. So I then marked 1.2, secured this one, which is beautiful, then did the same, put that in between, boom, that gives me my 400 there, boom, that gives me 400 there, and then this will be where it's going to be. But I now know that off of this wall, this 1.2 is going to breach from there to there, easy peasy, breach, bridge even. Now, for the actual securing, the first part I do is the tech screws. Boom. Now the reason I do this first is because actually once that's screwed into place, it ain't going to go nowhere. And what happens is when you file the nail gun, you can either have something like this in here, so when I file the first few nails in that direction, it just stops it from moving and sliding, because obviously it's been impacted, obviously. But by putting that rod, the thread straight through it, it keeps it in place, so when I get up to it and just fire through, it's easy peasy. Plus it makes it faster, because once these are all screwed in place, which won't take long, I can then run the whole length, just bang, 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 as opposed to doing one at a time and then have to put the nail gun down, get the next one up into place and piss and fart around. So I'm kind of doing it as a set, just speed things up a bit. So the reason it's going to be slightly interesting, because I do need two hands technically for this part. But you can see, here's one already done. Beautiful. Now, the reason it's got a hole in there is because the tech screws won't necessarily pull all the way into the wood. So what I do is I grab one of these, see that? It's very nice. Just to take a piece out. So all I do is I try and angle it right. And there you go. You can now see, I hope that filmed okay. What car's it on doing? Nicely like that, right? Which is beautiful. Now, take the tech screw, put it in. Normally with two hands it's a lot easier, but I'll stab it. Stabby, stabby, there we go. Alright, it gives a bit of start. Impact driver on the end. Done, not going anywhere. That's now secured in place. And like you see, like I said, when I get the nail gun up here and I've got the whole long done, it's just like bang, 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 bang. I'm going to sting in place then. And come back down it. So that's how that will work. And like I say, then obviously I'll put some joist hangers on there as well. Boom, thank you very much. Right, I'm going to get these cracked off. Happy days. Right, you can now see they're all in place, in position. All zip down at the back. Now, before I go ahead with the nail gun and just lock them all in, what I'm going to do is I've marked the centre point through all these joists. You can just see, where's the camera? There it is. So there, there. So all I did was took the measurement obviously from the floor to the front, divided by 2, taking that measurement off the wall plate across there, put a mark on this one, and then a mark on like the third one across. Grab your level, put it on the 2 points, and just score through your pencil marks. So what I'm going to do now is, these are all going to be exactly the same. They're going to be 35.5 centimetres, so I'm going to go cut those. I'll get those fit first. The reason I'm going to do that before I secure it at the back is where these will be twisted and bits and pieces, before I completely secure it, because it's only got one screw going straight through it, you'll still have lateral movement like that. So when I put these bits in, it'll just allow for that bit of movement. It'll take a bit easier, and then I'll lock it in place when nailing it at the back. Jobs are good. So I've got to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 noggins just through the centre. That's more than enough for this, and done. So I'm going to make some noise for a second. Right. So the next question is going to be, because I can feel it coming already. The overhang bit here. How the hell do you get that up, and how do you get it floating in mid-air, and just how, Steve? Simples. First of all, you want to create a little thing like this. You don't need that bit, that's just for a space every bit. But, see this? Because I barely can, because it's so bloody point. You see that bit overhanging there? Got one there, got one at the end as well, right? So what I've now done is chop down this length here. So it's because it's massively too big, like 4.8 meters. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get said piece. How do you hold it on your own? Put it up there. Put it onto those two things. That'll hold that in place. I can then nail that through. Bang, 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 bang. Not banging today. Get that done. It'll be oversized, which is perfect. Both ends, because I'll make sure it is, because I've cut it wide enough that it can go over wide enough. I will then do the same at the front and get one on there as well, overhang. And then all I need to do, once this piece is in and the other piece is in at front, is get the other piece in, create a little support for that, and done. It doesn't make any sense, but it will do once I start it. So first things first, get this bit of wood, put it up there. I'll show you that in a second.
There you go.
That is now just held up by those two supports. So now just get the nail gun and shoot it through all of the roof joists, and that's that secured. One done. Right, so there you go. You can see that one is now on, and I've removed the supports. If you come to the front, you can see the same. Done and dusted. So now it makes more sense. So now all I need to do is cut one that goes from that point to that end, and that is it done. I'll put a couple of supports on just to kind of brace it as well. So across here, the big one comes out, juts out that way, one at the back that juts out that way. That way I can get it in position easily, peasily, safely, get it jacked up on those, and then just like literally get it between these two gaps, fire it in. Job's a good one. Still hard work, but yeah. So you can do stuff on your Todd if you need to. There we go, it's recorded. There you go, see, done. There's the carry at the front, you can see. Carry it at the back, beautiful. Length on that, I'll smash these off in a second. Trim this down as well. You can now see that is in and beautiful. And if I bring you up here, if I turn my steps around, I'll come up to the top. There you go. You can see what I've done is I've put in 3 noggins. I've put one obviously through the centre, there, in line with the rest of them. I've chucked another one at that end as well, just to stop it from bowing and twisting. Same this end. So, what I've done was take a measurement between this one and this one, and a fire end, it's 22. Do the same at this end. 22 as well. In here it was 23, just because it's kind of bowing outwards like that. So I got all my noggins to suit, because they should all be straight. So they're all 22s. This one was bowing off, just pulled it in, locked it in with the old nails, and jobs are good. So I would do the other side, but I've actually run out of wood, so I've nearly got enough, but just not quite enough. So I'll just pick up another length tomorrow. But in the meantime, what I can do now is I'll chop off the overhang at the ends, knock these supports off, and see what I fancy doing. Hello, and I'm back here again. Look where I am. I'm up on the roof. Yeah, feeling it. Right, I'm not saying that my roof is square, but it bloody well is. OSB board's obviously perfectly square. And check out that edge. Look at it. I mean, come on, right? So, first board is up in OSB. So there's a couple ways to do this. You can either get the sort of 8x4 sheets and do it like this, or you can get the interlocking roofing stuff, which is fantastic as well. That stuff you'd have to glue it in the joints, the same as you did the flooring, with expanding glue, as well as obviously nailing it. I prefer these sheets because although yes it is a bit more work, like humping it up, you can do a bigger area much faster, so I much prefer this method. A couple of things to remember with OSB is that you must, I do mean must, leave at least a 3mm gap, 2 to 3 mil to recommend, so always go for the bigger, so 3mm gap between all the joints, all right? So when this next board comes on and goes on, it isn't going to be butted straight up to here, right? There will be a gap. The reason you do that is because obviously this stuff will expand and contract very slightly. And if you butt them right up to each other, they do this thing called cupping, which basically means if there's a flat surface, it will just bow very slightly and lift up. It's called cupping. I don't know why it's called cupping. It's got nothing to do with tea or anything else fancy you could do with a cup. But that's what it does. So just by leaving that bit of expansion, it will just save that from happening. Again, it's not the end of the world, but while you're up here, while you're doing it, just keep that in mind. Job done. What I'll also do is I'm going to stagger these boards. So obviously, it's the first one going in. That's set my square. And then I'll put the one on that's going in this direction, Then from that one, I then stagger it in between, so they're kind of off-centre from each other, and it just keeps the lines going nice and easy. For these, I'm using 64mm ring nails, just because you don't need like 90mm on these, and you don't want too small either. So these are perfect size. Go in straight away, hold it in place. You want to sort of nail every sort of 6 inches, give or take. I've been doing it for so long that I just kind of, you just intuitively know, and you just kind of rock and roll as you go. You can screw them down if you want to. Obviously it takes slightly longer, but if you're a DIY and you haven't got like the guns and stuff, it's not a problem at all. Happy days. Right, so I'm gonna get the next board up here and see how much of this I can get done before I knock off today. Happy days. This is how much I like you guys. I just interrupted Back in Black by AC/DC to do this recording. That's a lot of love. Right, as you can see, I've got a second board up, so that's in position, not fixed yet or secured or anything like that, because I wanted to get this third board up as well. So now you can see it's going to go straight to the centre, so simply marked 1, 2, 2. Put it in the centre of the joints. Obviously I'll push this away in a minute, but I just want to use that to like level up to make everything's running nice and square. I have my 3mm spacer just there, so what I will essentially do is budge this bad boy up, put that in there, and then drag it back down there, and I know that's going to be my 3mm then, so I can secure based on that. Once I've got that one zipped in place, I can then get this one in place as well. It's good, isn't it? It's really good. Right, I'm going to get that bad boy secured. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, but Steve, like, how do you mark where the joists are going to go? It's a good question. So when you go to the other end of that, like the board here, you can see quite clearly where you've put the nails in for the joists. So you just put your mark across there like so. Before I fit this board, obviously I could still see the noggins. Well, I couldn't, but I'd marked on this one, so you could just see the joist running through. All I then do is put a line on the level like that, so I join it up to that end. And you'll say, Steve, but I haven't got a level big enough. Well, fair enough, neither have I. What I do, John Bing still cracks up, is get 2 levels together like this, push them straight so the joint is there, right at the top with where it needs to be, right at the bottom with where it needs to be there, and you just draw a pencil mark down this edge. Once you've done that, take that one out of the way and follow the line across that one. So if you haven't got a long enough level, you can easily do it. Piece of cake. If you want to do it a slightly longer way, if you wanted to, you could bring a chalk line from one end to the other as well. There's a million ways of doing it, but this is just the easy way. 2 levels, job done. Thank you very much. So that is that. So you can now see nice gaps, nice gaps, nice gaps. I've done this one. So when I chop this board in half, I do all my cuts up here, by the way. I just find it easier. I've got the full board up here. There's the other off cut. I'll always make sure that the cut edge is not the edge that I butt up to. I know is a straight edge, okay? So obviously this is a cut edge, and this board is going here, but I'm not just going to slide this across like so and just drop it in place like that, because that will not be a completely straight cut, because I did it with the hand saw. So what I'm going to do is whip it around 360, like pass, and then know that these 2 edges marrying up are going to be perfectly straight. So right, I'll get it all marked up, get it done, and then yeah, just that little piece over there. Right. How's it looking? Look. Roofy, roof. You may know, so there's a slight gap here. The reason for that is because the client cut the tree back, which is fine and dandy. I don't think we trimmed it enough though, because unless you want to grow out your roof, that is definitely going to need some adjustment. So I'm probably chopping this part of the tree down tomorrow. Well, I don't think I am. I definitely am. Otherwise, it's going to be a pain trying to like sit it in with that. So yeah. Apart from that, not bad. So I've temporarily screwed these joist hangers just into there. Same that side. I've also put a 250mm hex bolt going straight through diagonally to that, just to stop this all from coming up if you get a good gust of wind. That'll stop that and keep it in place. Beautiful. Apart from that, job done. Thank you very much. Don't forget to hit the bell icon, the subscribe icon, any icons, anything that you can just tap it, all right? And if you want to leave me a comment, I'll try and get back to you. Have a nice one, and I'll see you tomorrow.